Welcome, my name's Steve.
And I'm Aaron.
And we're about to do a Kaldheim EDH top 10 list. I don't know how easy it was for you, Aaron, but I had about 30 to pick from.
Yeah, this was tough, actually. There was a lot more for EDH with the amount of legendary creatures, especially in this set. So yeah, this was tougher than the constructed one, for sure.
Yeah, I kind of went half and half. I think cards that I thought I'd see a lot of play, and then cards that personally I'd like to give a shot about building around.
Yeah, for sure. I know what you mean.
But the way we did the list is we basically each picked 10. We were going to combine them, thinking we'd have quite a lot of overlap, and we didn't. We had like 3 good overlaps and then 1 minor overlap. So we're going to do 2 separate lists. But if a card comes up on my list that's higher up on Aaron's, I'm going to mention that there is a card here, but we'll talk about it later when it appears on the other person's list. So if my 9 appears as Aaron's 7, we'll talk about it when we get to Aaron's list. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to go through, and I'll go obviously at the end of these lists. If you think that we've ranked a card too low or too high, you're welcome to say. Post in the comments below. If you have a different list, again, post that in the comments below. But otherwise, we're just going to go through and say why we like certain cards. I think Wizards are getting really good, especially the last 2 years or so, at having a lot of cards that can go in Commander in standard sets.
Well, they know that Commander's like one of arguably their biggest format, right? So I think they have to shoehorn in some Commander cards definitely in every set.
But I quite like this set. So some of the other sets, like Chromatic Orrery and some of the other weird ones that go in like every Commander deck or every like Mangara. In this set, I feel like there's less of those. I feel like there's not that many cards that will go in every deck of that color.
I think that's inevitable, though, isn't it, with a tribal-based set? Because this is basically a tribal-based set. So yeah, I think it's inevitable.
All right, so we're going to jump in. And my number 10 was on Aaron's list higher up, so we're going to talk about it at a later date. And so we're going to start with Aaron's number 10, which is a 2-face card. It is Valki, God of Lies. Valki, innocent-looking guy there, 1 and a black, 2/1, a legendary creature god. And when he enters the battlefield, for each opponent, reveal their hand. And for each opponent, you can exile a creature card they revealed this way until Valki leaves the battlefield. And he has another ability. You can pay X, choose a creature card, exile Valki, with convert mana cost X. Valki becomes a copy of that card. And then the reverse side, it is, obviously, everyone knew, Tybalt, Cosmic Imposter. It's 5 in the black and a red. When Tybalt enters the battlefield, you make an emblem with you may play cards exiled with Tybalt, Cosmic Imposter, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any colour to cast those spells. You can +2 to exile top card of each player's library, including your own. You can -3 to exile target artifact or creature, or you can -8 to exile all cards from all graveyards and add 3 red mana.
So, any card that says each opponent on it and is a legendary should always be considered, I think, for the Commander. And this is a cheap one as well. So you get this out turn 2, and already you can start, everyone's got their hands revealed. Everyone can see what everyone's doing. Oh, no, sorry. Your opponents all reveal their hands. So you have all the information. You know everything at this point about what's going on, which I think is so good. And then you can start playing politics as well straight away on turn 2. Like, obviously, you can see what people have. And yeah, I really love this card. And then, obviously, you can exile stuff. And make creatures instead, and because it's Commander, people play stupid dumb creatures. So
just as a point, you can only copy 1 creature. Once you've copied it, you can't do another one.
Oh right, okay, it becomes a copy of that card, but without this ability.
Yeah, so it doesn't have that ability on it anymore, so you won't be able to do it. So what you can do is you can take a creature you want to copy, and then 2 creatures from your other opponents that you just don't want them to have in the hand.
Yeah.
So maybe you take a 3-drop that's good and a utility 3-drop, and then you take their big splashy thing and big splashy thing or whatever.
It's a free-for one, like it's insane.
Yeah, they will get it back, and I think if you take something really good, they might incentivize getting it back a bit quicker. But maybe you just take like Psalms from Simulacrum or something. You take something that's just a bit of a utility thing for them. They might not go all out of their way to get it back because Psalm's not a good card. But if you take their, I don't know, win condition or their engine or something, maybe they'll incentivize getting it back. But it also has a pretty good back half for late in the game.
So yeah, so I mean, obviously you now have to play this in a Rakdos deck because that is the it's got 2 colors. But I'm not sure how the Commander tax works exactly with this. So if like
it's the card.
Oh, it is the card. So if you're
whichever side you've cast, it's the whole card. So if you've cast this side once and this side once, your commander tax is 4.
Oh, okay, fair enough then. But yeah, this is again. It says +2 exile the top card of each player's library. So you're getting 4 cards there, and you already have the emblem. And because it's your commander, you can recast it later on and just get more cards if it dies straight away. Oh yeah, it's just so much.
You could actually play this in a deck without card advantage because this is your card advantage.
Yeah, for sure.
You always have access to it, don't you?
I mean, it's a lot of mana. 7 mana is like a lot, but it's commander. You get lots of mana going, so
yeah. But this will get you lands. Once you've got 7 mana, you'll never miss a land drop.
Mm-hmm.
This will get a land off each deck. You can play yours or one of theirs or something. Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I think it's just an awesome commander. I think it's very popular as well because it's Tybalt. It's like the low-key character of the set. So yeah, I think a lot of decks straight away after the set comes out, people will be building around this for sure.
I agree. It was close for me. All right, my number 9 is a card. Is a card we didn't even talk about when we did the set review because it's an uncommon, and it's Call the Forge Master. It is a red and a white for a 2/2 legendary dwarf warrior. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return it to its owner's hand, and creature tokens you control are enchanted or equipped get +1/+1.
Steve, I'll let you talk about this one. This is your baby.
So I'm not sure there's a card that, because a lot of the times in red-white decks, his card advantage is what lets you down. You're playing these things and you're trying to be aggressive, and you may be playing a creature-based strategy, or in this case, an equipment or an enchantment-based strategy. You just run out of steam. This gives you that advantage. The creature that you can load up a creature, swing in with it, and then when they deal with it, it comes back to your hand and you can play it again. You can Skull Clamp a 1/1. Draw 2 cards, put the 1/1 back in your hand, play it again. Skull Clamp it, draw 2 cards, put it back in your hand, and play it again. You've got equipment when you unattach it, your creature will die, but it can come back to your hand. So you can load up your stuff and equipment, and if you just want to kill the guy and bring it back to your hand, maybe you've got some Enter the Battlefield abilities, you can do that. This gives you that sort of card advantage that the decks that normally play in these colours don't often have. The card advantage of not having your creatures go to the graveyard and having them back in your hand. So often you'll need creatures to be loaded up with these equipments. In theory, the only weird bit is he doesn't bring himself back to hand, which is understandable. But he's pumping creature tokens, which don't work with the first ability.
Yeah, I was about to say that actually.
So it's not great, but I'm not sure there's another card that has this sort of effect in these colours. So I thought, as a card, a unique one, build around if this is your sort of style of deck, kind of loading up, Voltroning some creatures that have like a bit of a, incentive, not incentive to die, but like a benefit. If they die, they come back to your hand and you get to play them again.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
I think it makes maybe some cards that don't see any play in EDH will then become part of this deck, ways that say like maybe with like I suppose Batterskull sees play already, but things that make germ tokens, the equipment that makes germ tokens, just because then this is buffing them, so you'll keep your tokens around even if you can start moving around the equipment.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. No, they have to be, because if you take the equipment off, they'll die.
Oh, I suppose, yeah. But I mean, you could put other auras or something on them, or like auras that like when it enters, you make a 1/1 counter or something. I don't know, like maybe cards like that don't see play really, but maybe this card will let them go in a deck.
I just thought when I saw it, I thought this is definitely built for Commander. It's not really going to see play in Standard, I don't think.
No.
But I'm not sure there's another card that does what this does. So
yeah, that's fair.
All right, Aaron's 9 is a card. Maybe I should have put this in mine. I tried not to look at your list when I made mine. Aaron's 9 is a blue mythic called Orvar the Orform. It's a 4 mana, 3 and a blue, 3/3 changeling shapeshifter. And whenever you cast a sorcery spell, if it targets one or more other permanents you control, create a token that's a copy of one of those permanents. And separately, when a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard this card, create a token that's a copy of target permanent.
So this is creating tokens for 0 mana, or creating tokens of copies of other things for 0 mana, essentially, because you're going to want to cast instants and sorceries in this sort of deck to buff or do something to your creatures anyway, and then this is just giving you extra value. It can be your commander. Sure, it puts you in mono blue, but I suppose you could go into any mono blue tribal deck, I guess, if you wanted to do that. And this card also reminds me a lot about, I think it was Zada from a Zendikar set. Very similar sort of card where that one targeted your guys or targeted a guy, and then that spell got copied and targeted all of your guys. So it's a similar sort of effect. I suppose that second part of the card won't be really relevant in EDH because it's not often it's going to be in your hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, that part of the text is just very powerful for Commander. You can already do dumb stuff like Rite of Replication and stuff like that is already really playable in Commander. And yeah, this is just really cool. I love it.
Yeah, definitely a build around. I haven't thought about how I'd build around it. That's my issue. And I think the colour of kind of targeting your own guys for benefits is often not blue. So maybe it's better as a 99 in like a blue-white deck or a blue-green deck or something. Because blue-green cares about tokens, so maybe there's some blue-green shenanigans there. But if you can do it, because it doesn't have to be creatures, you can do your lands. You could,
yeah,
I don't know. You could do other copy effects as well. You could play other blue instants and sources that copy things, and so basically this is just doubling the amount of copies you get.
Yeah, like a quasi-duplicate.
Yeah.
Starts.
Yeah, and things like Shark Typhoon as well. And then you've got things like Cryptic Command, which have modal stuff, and a Sublime Epiphany, which can target lots of things. One of those could be your own. So I think Sublime Epiphany, one of its modes is it can copy a creature you've got. Or I think it's a creature you've got. And then this will make 2 copies of it, as well as all the other things it can do. Cryptic Command can bounce something. So Cryptic Command, you could bounce one of your lands. This will make a copy of that land, and then you can play the land again. You're ramping. So
the tricky part, I think, with this sort of deck building restriction, if this is your commander, though, is finding the balance between instants and sorceries and permanents, because obviously you need both, right? And you want to make sure you've got a sort of fairly even split. You obviously don't want a hand just full of instants and sorceries, and you don't want a hand just full of permanents. So yeah, I think that's the deck building sort of trickery part of it, is finding the balance of permanents to non-permanents in the deck.
You're in blue though. You're going to draw enough cards. What about like Cryptic Commanding your Mystic Sanctuary? So you Cryptic Command, target your Mystic Sanctuary. This will make a copy of the Mystic Sanctuary. The copy comes in, you get to put an instant or sorcery or whatever back on top of your
like graveyard. There is some serious combo potential.
And then you've got one in hand to bring back your Cryptic Command to do it again. And you just, yeah. Wow.
Really cool card.
Wow. Yeah,
really
it's
cool
very powerful if you can get it going.
Yeah, I think it'll be a combo deck, potentially. Like, you can go infinite with it, I'm sure. And not that I know how off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure there's definitely a few infinite combos with it.
Yeah. Mine, you can. There's a card in Standard, and there'll be other cards. It's when it enters the battlefield, you return target instant or sorcery.
Oh yeah,
to your hand, and it's got prowess.
Yeah.
So if you have some 1 mana blue, give it +0/+2 or whatever. You target this, the copy will get back the +0/+2 into your hand. You do it again. So at the end of their turn, you do it again, and then it's back in your hand. And then at the start of your turn, you do it to all your creatures again. But because they've all got prowess, like Monastery Mentor or something, it's a blue Monastery Mentor effectively. You can then swing in for
prowess triggers,
yeah, not infinite until you run out of mana, I guess. But
yeah,
but something like that. Maybe there's a spell where it gives +1/+1 unblockable or something like that, or even just making it unblockable with a prowess creature.
Yeah,
that's pretty good, isn't it? Right, my number 8 is Haunting Voyage. It's 4 and 2 black for a black mythic sorcery. It says choose a creature type, return from up to 2 creature cards of the type from your graveyard to the battlefield. If this spell was foretold, instead return all creature cards of that type from your graveyard to the battlefield. It can foretell for 7 mana.
So this is another one of these cards that definitely feels like it is a commander card that's put into the standard set. There isn't many sort of black tribes in standard that can really take full advantage of this, but like any tribal deck that you're playing in Commander that plays black, you can play this card easily. You might not be playing other foretell cards in the deck, so people, because you're going to want to foretell this, you don't really, I mean, Sure, getting 2 things back from your graveyard for 6 mana is okay, but there's other cards that do that anyway.
Well, there's better cards,
yeah. So I suppose with the problem with it is like you're going to foretell it, and people can see it coming to some extent. But maybe that doesn't matter because you might be putting enough pressure on board that they just have to board wipe or deal with it.
But if they board wipe, then you can play that other Black Foretell card, which brings back all the 2/2s.
Yeah,
they don't necessarily know which one you're playing, I guess. Especially if you're not, especially if you're not mono black.
Yeah, this is any black tribal deck basically.
Yeah, zombies, elves, dragons, demons. I mean, dragons, the 5-color dragon, even just Mardu dragons or something like that. I mean, it's really powerful. If you can fill your bin, you're playing the color to fill your bin, and then you call it out. I think it's pretty good. Slivers,
rogues.
Yeah. It's pretty good, and I think in terms of if you're playing reanimation, this probably replaces it, if not adds to it, in your tribal deck. All right. The next one, Aaron's number 8, is our first crossover. It was my number 10, and that is Toski, Bearer of Secrets. It's 3 and a green for a 1/1 legendary squirrel. The spell can't be countered. He's indestructible. He attacks every turn if he can. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card.
This is a squirrel, right? Legendary squirrel in Black Border, which I think is the first one ever in Black Border, at least.
Yeah.
Admittedly, it's mono green, but I think almost all squirrels are green anyway. So I think a lot of commander players will like this anyway, just because the creature type alone. Indestructible as well. Indestructible commando is great. Can't be countered. Feels great to be able to just make sure you have this in hand, and it is going and it's sticking. Basically, sure, it can attack every turn. You just attack the person who's got nothing on board, right?
Yeah.
And then you get a free card.
Can I hit you for 1 if you let me draw a card?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, please. Yeah, and the next time I won't.
Exactly.
You're politicking here, so I think it's great. The flavor's really nice. It's not overpowered. It gives people an excuse to play a legendary squirrel. I'm not really sure it's going to see much play outside of a commander in a squirrel tribal deck.
Maybe in like a token deck. Whenever a creature you control does combat damage to a player, draw a card. Like any go wide thing, I think this should be considered.
Okay, maybe like Selesnya tokens or something, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good. Not broken. It's exactly the sort of thing Commander should be doing. Should be playing stupid decks and having fun.
Yes, for sure. I'm not sure, like, besides it being a squirrel, did people just be like, okay, for the memes, let's just make a complete squirrel deck? Or is there like, this doesn't really enable any particular sort of decks as such? It's a very sort of vague card, really. It doesn't say, oh, actually, this is what you should be doing with your deck. In my opinion, it doesn't really say anything like that because it's just like, okay, a creature you control, you can start. It's got card advantage on it, sure, and it's a commander that's going to stick.
Yeah, can't be countered, can't be killed easy. Yeah.
So I don't think it's a super interesting card, except for like the squirrel part. Maybe I think that's the biggest thing it's got going for it in a commander perspective.
Yeah, I think if it didn't say squirrel, it wouldn't be on my list.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that is Aaron's number 8. So my number 7 is a colourless card. It's Pyre of Heroes. It's 2 mana, and it's effectively Birthing Pod, if you know what that is. You can pay 2 mana, and you can sacrifice a creature, and if you do, you search your library for a creature card that shares a creature type with the sacrificed creature and has converted mana cost equal to 1, plus that creature's converted mana cost. Put that card on the battlefield, then shuffle it, and then you can activate this ability only any time you could cast a sorcery.
I'll let you take this one away because I didn't have this on my list.
If you're playing fair, you're doing this once a turn, and it's only really going to go in tribal decks. So Birthing Pod was a bit on the broken side. This is a fixed one because it only goes in tribal decks. It's very specific in terms of what creature you can shoot it up. But I think it goes in a lot of tribal decks, especially a lot of tribal decks where you've got like toolbox creatures. So zombies, sacrifice your Gravecaller, get a 2 mana lord or 3 mana lord or whatever like that, and you can reanimate the stuff you're sacrificing. Perfect. Slivers, sacrifice this sliver to get the sliver that stops you doing that, or that stops them gaining life, or to the sliver that does the broken thing you need. You've got a whole toolbox of slivers. You can sacrifice it to get an elf lord from a mana dork elf. You can sacrifice a merfolk to get this merfolk lord from a different merfolk thing. So I think just allowing you to just improve your creatures and getting the creatures that work well with the other creatures you've got on the board. It's obviously going to go in a creature heavy deck. And I think it's going to go in a lot of those decks. The ability to just tutor out of your deck, your tribal deck, bear in mind it has to be in a tribal deck, the creature that fixes the current situation you're in is great. And I think it goes even better in those decks that can use the graveyard or the aristocratic style decks where sacrificing is actually a positive rather than negative. So I'm thinking in zombies. I think that's great, very good. Like in a creature heavy zombie deck, I think it's very good because often the zombies that you're sacrificing you can probably bring back anyway. So I think this is going to see play in a lot of places in a way that isn't broken. If you're not doing this as some sort of infinite combo where you're untapping every time. And I think this is pretty good. It gives you answers. You can tutor up Night of Autumn in an elf deck and things like that, which will maybe answer the problem you've got. So if you've got creature-based answers, Deputy Detention in I don't even know what he is actually. Is he
Vedalken, I think.
Vedalken. Is Vedalken Artificer or something? Maybe?
Yeah.
Or Wizard. He might be a wizard.
Not human. I remember that.
So our creatures like that. So I think the toolbox kind of answer this in a tribal deck. I think this is pretty good. It's cheap and it's cheap to activate, and it's sorcery speed, so it's not kind of like insanely good. But yeah,
I think it's a bit trickier to break this one for sure. I think there's a lot of restriction going for it, considering that you have to sort of go up the CMC ladder basically, and I think that is like the thing that I think makes it really hard to break. It's very specific on the CMC creature you can get, but so I agree.
And the creature type as well, so you can't just put it in any deck.
So like you might be able to do something in humans just because humans has got so many creatures that are available to it. But yeah, going infinite with it I think would be very tough.
Yeah, I can't see an easy way of doing it, but I think if I was putting this in a deck, that wouldn't be a meme. I don't really like the infinite combos.
Yeah, like you said though, utility toolbox creatures in a tribal deck for sure. Yeah, I can see that's where it finds its home.
Yeah, you can even sacrifice. So if you make tokens, you can even sacrifice your tokens to get a 1-drop. So if you make a token elf, you can get a Llanowar elf, and then when your Llanowar elf isn't needed, you can get something different or something better. So yeah. I like it. It's not too powerful, but I think Commander is a better place for it than Constricted.
For sure.
Aaron's number 7. No, we haven't. Aaron's number 7 is my number 6. So we're going to talk about that at the same time. Yeah, we're going to talk about them at the same time. So that was my number 7. So Aaron's number 7 is my number 6. So effectively, my number 6 is Realmwalker. It is a 2 and a green changeling shapeshifter. It's a 2/3, and it has, as Realmwalker enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. You may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may cast creature spells with a chosen type from the top of your library.
So a lot of these cards on this list I'm noticing are tribal based. As I was looking through the set, I was like, oh, Leia, look at all these cool legendaries and these gods and stuff, and they just weren't jumping out at me. Probably because anything that has a creature type that is relevant, I suppose, has more homes it can go in, more decks it can go in. And this one goes in literally any green tribal deck because it's every creature type.
I remember in Standard, Duskwatch Recruiter was very playable. It gave you a mana sink to kind of loot through your library. I think Course of Crewfix is a very playable card. It allows you to ramp a bit. Well, just gain cards, gain a bit of life and stuff, hitting off the top of your deck. This doing so for creatures in a deck where green decks are going to have the most mana. So this is going to get you, in elves, this is just bonkers. You just play your whole deck. You just play through your whole deck. Occasionally you hit some lands. Oh, boo-hoo. You'll probably have some card draw because you're playing green. You can shoot those lands out of the way or something like that. But even if you're just casting one creature every 2 turns off the top of your deck, it's really good knowledge. And if you've got any way to manipulate your library, if you're not just playing mono green, if you're playing green blue or something like that, I think this is really powerful. Not broken, but just powerful.
I mean, cards like this as well, like they've been printing cards like these for the last few years, I've noticed, in standard sets, and they've done very well in constructed. And yeah, in EDH, this is perfect. I think it's so good for especially elves. So, is there any elves that can then stack your deck? Like, there's a goblin one, isn't there, that basically says, right, cheer up all your goblins if you want, just put them all on top of your deck. in your order that you want. I don't know if there's like an elf one that does that.
Yeah, but you've got like just things like this with Beast Caller. Every time you play a creature off the top of your deck, you can draw a card, and just the amount of cards you can get from this. And basically, if there's a land on top of your deck, you play your creature from hand, you draw that land with your Beast Caller. I mean, just in green based decks, there's just so many ways to just draw the non-creature off the top of your deck and hopefully hit another creature.
Yeah, for sure. Solid card.
Yeah, very powerful. Only really goes in a tribal deck or a deck where you're going to have that critical mass. Even if you got 10 creatures out of your 100 at the same time, it's not good enough. You need to have like about 30 to 40 creatures, so you're hitting one every 2 cards or thereabouts.
Goes in the Squirrel deck.
It does. In fact, all changings will go in the Squirrel deck, I guess. It will go in in a changing deck as well, or a shapeshifter deck maybe as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So Aaron's number 6 is a red mythic. It is Goldspan Dragon. It's 3 and 2 red for a 4/4 flying haste dragon. Whenever Goldspan Dragon attacks or becomes a target of a spell, create a treasure token, and treasures you control have sacrifice this to add 2 mana instead of the normal 1.
So the reason I put this on my list is mostly a personal reason. I really love playing Smothering Tithe, as the people I play with will tell you. And this works so well with Smothering Tithe. Like, I already don't have enough mana with Smothering Tithe. I can use it all. And then, all right, now this just gives me even more mana to play with all them treasures. And yeah, it's great. I love it. And it just makes more mana. Like, I think that's good enough.
Would you put this in a deck that didn't make treasure tokens on its own?
Probably not. I think there's enough cards. Like, we've got that new Dwarf that if you make it in a treasure sort of dedicated deck, or have a sort of artifact token sort of Brooderclad deck maybe. Yeah, I just like this card. It ramps you up. It gives you more mana. It's good.
Yeah.
Threat as well early. Like, I mean, you're going to get this out turn 4. Early
in that deck, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I suppose in a deck that cares about artifacts as well, it would be good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because treasure's only been around since Ixalan, hasn't it? So you've not got.
I believe so. Yeah.
Too many sets where treasure matters, I guess, but.
No.
Yeah.
But like artifact tokens, like Brooderclad is one of the ones that I can think of off the top of my head that cares about artifact tokens. This goes in that deck easily enough. Yeah, it's just a really good card.
Yeah, it's powerful. It's definitely powerful, its effect. And just making more mana as well in Commander.
Exactly.
If they kill it, fine, your treasure's tapped for 1, but it's probably made you a couple of treasures, one when it attacked and one when they killed it.
It's another way I think that's probably easier to go infinite in Commander. You have access to more cards. You just do a combo of targeting it, draw a card, or make 2 more mana, right?
So it would go in the Zarda deck, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
As well. Like any deck which cares about targeting it. I didn't think of that. Or the Feather deck. Feather the Redeemed. In fact, it goes very well in that deck, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it has a lot of combo potential as well.
Yeah.
I'm very big on this card though. I like my 5/5/4/4 flying haste.
Honestly, didn't even consider this for EDH, but I can see it's got more homes than I thought it would have. Right, on to our top 5 respectively. So my number 5 is a black rare called Varagoth Blood Sky Sire. It's 2 and a black for a 2/3 with Death Touch. It's a demon rogue, and it has Boast. Target player searches their library for a card, then shuffles their library and puts a card on top of it. So it's effectively which tutor is it? Not demonic. Vampiric,
Vampiric tutor,
yeah,
but that loses you life.
Yeah, it's effectively a vampiric tutor, but for anyone. So it doesn't have to be you.
Yeah.
So I just really like the politics behind this card. If this could be your commander or just in your thing, and I think it goes in a lot of black-based creature decks potentially that don't care about tribes. But I think as your commander, this would be really good. You can just tutor it wherever you need. Or if you're in danger to losing to a third player, I go, Aaron, I can't answer what he's doing because I won't draw the card until next turn, but you're going next. Would you allow me to attack you, keep my commander alive, and I will let you tutor up what you want? And then you can tutor up the solution to the problem that the table's got. I think this is not playable in standard. But I think this is a sort of thing that Commander's built around, the kind of the politics. I don't need to always be the one that's tutoring something up. So I'm not always going to be tutoring up some broken combos. I might tutor up a removal spell. I might tutor up a land for myself when I'm doing it. But then when the table needs a solution to something, I can help the table get that solution if this guy's my commander.
Yeah, it's a card that I never really considered. I'm not much of a political player when it comes to Commander, I don't think. With cards like this, but yeah, it's a pretty cool effect. And the only thing that does put me off cards like this is because Opposition Agent was printed, which like basically lets you tutor their deck. So this plays extremely well with that as well, because then you can just start nicking your opponent's stuff.
Oh my god, you can force them to search.
Yeah.
It's not an option. So I can say, Aaron, you search. By the way, my Opposition Agent means I'm going to search. Yeah, oh my god.
So it's really good. It plays really well with
that. How does Opposition Agent work? Do you get to put it in your hand?
No, I think you exile it and then you can cast it for any colours.
Because they're not tutoring into their hand, are they?
No. Oh wait.
Sure it matters.
No, I'm pretty sure it's just tutor.
Instead of if they search for a card, instead you search for it, exile it, and cast it. Okay. I even thought about that. That's the mean way of playing, Aaron.
Yeah, it is very mean.
I just think this is quite nice, political. It gives you a bit of a toolbox deck, answers to different things. And if you're playing things like Argos Bloodfast or Phyrexian Arena, not Phyrexian Arena, Castle Locthwain, all these black cards that allow you to effectively draw the top card. In theory, you might be able to get that card straight away. The first card you might tutor for is something like Argos Bloodfast, which means that every other tutor you make, you can draw straight away. You lose 2 life, but you go straight into your hand, effectively.
Yeah, it's a cool tutor sort of tribal card almost.
Yeah, if there's some...
Yeah, and just being able to like attack someone and say, "Oh, just let me in for 2, and then I'll let you find your card that you need to sort the board out." Yeah, that's really strong political effect.
Yeah, I think this would not be as good if it was only you that could tutor. People would kill it quite quickly, thinking you're just doing it for your benefit. You're looking for some sort of broken combo. But you can even play Demon Tribal. You could search for like Liliana's Contract, which you can win if you've got 4 different demons out and things like that. Yeah, so you can get your 4 different demons out, search for Liliana's Contract, and then win on your next upbeat
as well.
Yeah. So I like the card. I think it's a commander card through and through. I think it can go in the 99 or as your commander, whichever way around you fancy. Aaron's number 5 is a card that almost made my list, and that is Reflections of Lit Tiara. It's an enchantment for 4 and a blue, and it says, as Reflections of Lit Tiara enters the battlefield, you can choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, copy that spell.
So this is another one of these cards in the set that is just completely tribal based, and it doesn't matter which tribe it is either. It's because it says choose a creature type, so you can choose any creature type you want, and as long as your deck is focused on that creature type, this card's insane. Like after 5 CMC, I suppose you want to get this down a lot earlier than later. It's not a great top deck if for some reason you're top deck in Commander, but yeah, it works so good later on. Like if you play a Lord with this out, right? Well, now you just doubled your Lords.
Yeah. This goes well in Merfolk. It goes well in Wizards, who cares about ETBs. It's effectively a Panharmonicon in that case. Goes well in token-based decks as well.
Because it'll make get more bodies on the field. And if these bodies do something when they enter, even better.
Yeah. It goes really well. I think, I'm just trying to think what other blue tribes would be, like heavy blue tribes, but other than Merfolk.
I mean, I play Dragon, so all these cards are all considered for my Dragon deck.
In 5 colour, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. So yeah, like the colour restriction isn't too bad. It's only 1 blue pit.
In slivers.
I know, yeah. Like slivers needs anymore. I suppose with slivers though, it's like, oh, all your guys get flying. Okay, well now it gives them flying twice.
Yeah, but then there were slivers that care about how many slivers you've got as well. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's like the ones that buff.
Yeah, it's nice that obviously if you cast your commander, that it will legend rule itself. So you're not going to double commanders, but commanders with ETBs potentially. If your commander's like I tell you what, I wonder if there's a cheap blue commander with a good ETB, because you could cast your commander. When you cast it, you get the token. Your commander enters, you legend rule it, and the next turn you cast it again, and you keep doing it.
Yeah, maybe like Fibble or something. But draws a card, right?
Well, you draw 2, because you'll get the copy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something like that. Maybe there's a wizard, maybe there's a good wizard or Gadwick or something like that. Because you still get the copy, yeah.
It's just one of them cards that isn't too great later on in the game. Like you want to be playing this quite early on, I think.
Yeah.
Try and get it down as early as possible.
Yeah, I like what you can do with it. The fact that it's effectively a Panharmonicon is why I like it now. But yeah, again, could have made my list, but didn't. Alright, on to number 4. Number 4 should be a white card, but it's colourless, and it's Cosmos Elixir. It's a 4-mana card, it's an artifact, and it just says at the beginning of your end step, draw a card if your life total is greater than your starting life total, otherwise you gain 2 life. I've played a lot of games of Commander where for some reason someone gets ahead, and for whatever reason they attack me, and I'm down to 12, 15 life when everyone else is 40. I'm like, I can't do. I've now got to play like I've got to be subservient until I can live. And any kind of incidental life gain you get in those situations is good. You can start clawing your way back up. But more importantly, it gives white decks which care about life a way to draw cards. So it doesn't have to go in every deck, and I don't think it should go in every deck. It's nice to have incidental life gain, but in decks where you've already got incidental life gain or life gain in general, I think this is really good. It gets you to, it's effectively, you're the monarch. In a white deck, you're the monarch, always. You get to draw a card at the end of your turn, and when you go down to 34 life, well, okay, I'll gain life a turn. It's not great, for 4 mana just to gain 2 life a turn, but when you start to get to the point where you can draw cards, it's pretty good. It might be good in like some sort of taxi deck where you're playing Snaring Bridge and just sitting behind a wall and allowing you to gain a bit of life, and then when you're back to where you started with, you get to start drawing cards. And I don't think it's broken, so I think it goes in a lot of decks. The fact it's colourless.
Alluro players will be happy for sure. Alluro players don't even have to cast their commander and they're gaining life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll go in that deck. But yeah, it definitely feels like it should have been a white card.
Like 3 in a white, but for an artifact, yeah.
Maybe then the reason that they didn't do that was because then people would expect a full cycle of it, maybe. But yeah, it doesn't. I don't think it goes in every deck. I don't know if it's good enough for 4 mana just to gain 2 life at end of turn.
I don't think so. I think you have to have other incidental life gain. Or potentially some sort of artifact deck. Obviously, you're playing like some guy who can tutor artifacts out of your deck or whatever. Maybe this might be your toolbox answer. I'm on 8 life. I need a bit of a way to gain a bit of life. Something like that to stall up. Potentially, I don't think it goes in every deck, but it's nice that they've given white card advantage even though it's not white.
Yeah, the meme is still going.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my number 4. Aaron's number 4 is higher up on my list, so we will talk about it when we get there.
Okay, no worries.
So my number 3 is Mystic Reflection. Now, if this is constructed playable, it is almost definitely Commander playable. This is 1 and a blue for an instant, and it says choose target non-legendary creature. The next time 1 or more creatures or planeswalkers enter the battlefield this turn, they enter as copies of the chosen creature, and you can tell it for 1 blue. And the way this works is, I think in Commander, you're much more likely to go about trying to break this yourself rather than use it as an answer to your opponent. Without trying to break it yourself, is an answer to your opponent's best thing. You turn your opponent's best thing they're about to cast into the worst creature on the board that anyone has. Someone's got a 0/1 plant token. Okay,
well, it's not their commander though.
Sorry? Yeah, you can't pick legendary creatures. You can't take the commanders out, but you can take some broken, planeswalkers. You can hit planeswalkers. You can hit their Karn or whatever, their big 7-mana Karn or whatever they're doing, and you can turn it into a plant or something like that. So it's a 1 mana because you can foretell it answer to one of their biggest threats. Sadly, you can't hit legendaries, but you can also break this if you're playing this in some sort of ban tokens deck. You can have your Lord, and then you can make as many elves as much as the multitudes allows, or you can whatever you're trying to do, and then you can turn all your tokens into the Lord, or you can turn all your tokens into this 5/5 you've got, or you can turn all your tokens into their biggest creature. because you can copy theirs as well. So it doesn't even have to be stuff you've got. So you could have all the tokens and not have a creature to copy. You can copy theirs. The flexibility in a 4-player game, I think the reason this sees more play in a 4-player game is because in a 2-player game, you might not always have the thing you want to copy being good enough to copy or bad enough to copy. But in a 4-player game, it's probably going to be a better target.
Yeah. So like cards like Rise of the Dark Realms that get all the creatures out of the bin onto your control in one go, them sort of cards that work well with this. Like, what's another sort of mass-producing token spell? What was it called? There was one from Khans of Tarkir.
Empty the Pits. No, it had Delve. It had Delve, and it was double black X, and you could.
I think there was a zombie one as well. Yeah. Or Rally the Ranks or something. I'm not sure.
Rally the Ranks is a return from the grave. Empty the Pits is the one. You delve as many as you want.
Yeah.
And you play XX black, and you make X 2/2 zombies. I think.
Yeah, I mean, it works really well with them sort of decks, and I think that's the sort of thing you want to be doing, like Steve said. And then you can also just play it as a removal spell, essentially a removal spell.
Yeah, it turns into like a better Pongify. As long as there's a creature on the board that's bad enough to copy, you might give them a mana dot, but it's better than them having a Tibalt Planeswalker or an Ugin or something.
So yeah, it can stop them from comboing off, or it can enable your combo to go off.
They can play Splinter Twin. No, you can have.
Yeah.
You can have a 1/1 elf instead, so it is an answer to 1-mana answer to their combo creature on the proviso that it's. You can target their commander.
Choose target non-legendary.
Yeah, the one you choose is the copy. You can counter their commander as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can just that makes it even better. Yeah, you can just hit their commander. They're about to play the Ur-Dragon with haste, and you've got a thing foretold, and they're like, "Do I dare cast my commander for 10 mana?" When they've got 1 blue up. So, by foretell, such a meme, such a meme.
Right. Yeah, it's a good mechanic. Trap cards.
Yeah. Just get these. This will see play. This is a toolbox answer, I think, to a lot of things. Aaron's number 3 is a land. It is the World Tree. It is a land. It's not legendary, but you can play 1 in Commander anyway. It's enters the battlefield tapped. Taps are 1 green, but when you get to 6 or more lands, it can add 1 mana of any colour. All your lands can, sorry. And it has another ability. You can pay 10 mana, 2 of each colour, to sacrifice the World Tree. Search your library for any number of God cards, put them onto the battlefield, and shuffle your library.
So yeah, this card, so much text. So this goes in, I think, almost any 5-color deck because it has a chromatic lantern effect on it. So it's saying all your lands can tap for any color.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. Well, as long as you got 6 or more, I guess. But yeah, in a 5-color deck, I just think you have to play this card. Personally, I think I would put this in a Golos deck, where a Golos God deck. Golos is your commander. It can, when it enters, it can find this land. And then you've basically got a card that says, pay 10, go get every god out your deck, and just dump them all on the battlefield. And you could probably play every god that's ever been printed.
Play all the Theros gods.
Yeah.
All the original ones, Amonkhet, Kaldheim.
Yeah. So there's plenty of gods to play. And a lot of them, like I suppose the Theros ones, all their devotion will be turned on instantly, so they'll all become creatures. So I think Perthros, because you play Perthros in the deck, then Perthros probably just wins you the game, because all these creatures enter at the same time, and it deals 2 damage to each opponent for every creature that enters.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it's a 1-card combo in that deck. And they can't counter it unless they have a stifle ability.
You should be playing land destruction in EDH. You should be.
Yeah, for sure.
And people don't. And people might not have it. I think Golos is the best home, but I think it'll go even when you're not doing the God thing. I think just because it's Chromatic Lantern on land. I'm not sure Chromatic Lantern sees a lot of play outside 5-color decks. So maybe 3 or 4-color decks when you're playing partners to get 4 colors and stuff like that. So maybe this will go in those, but it'll probably go in any green-based 4 or 5-color deck, I think. Oh, it can't go in a 4-color deck, can it? Sorry.
No, yeah, it has to go in 5 color
Yeah.
decks because of the pips.
Yeah.
And again, that cost as well in a 5 color deck basically says 10 generic. Like, as long as all your lands and all your, like, because you're going to be playing the sort of mana rocks that you're going to play and are going to be tapping for colors because you need your colors.
Yeah.
So that basically says 10 generic. Tap sack it.
Yeah.
Because all your lands tap for any color. So the cost isn't as much as what I think the card makes it out to be.
I think, I think you're right. I think it fixes your mana. I think it'll go in the 5 color dragon deck. I think it'll go in decks without a single god in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it also is this huge payoff for creating a god deck that there wasn't really a reason to be playing God Tribal. I don't think.
No, it's more of a meme. I think.
Yeah, exactly.
This is
It's more of a dedicated card to that deck.
Yeah, you can even play changelings as well.
Yeah.
You can play changelings with a few gods in it, and yeah.
I like it. It's definitely a card I want to pick up.
Do you know that if you search for god cards and put them on the battlefield, can you put them either way up? I assume you can.
I'm guessing so. Yeah. Like,
which means
I'm pretty sure that's how modal face cards work.
Which means you could get Tybalt instead of Valky as well.
That's true. Or any of the other artifacts.
The flip ones. You could get the World Tree instead of a Seeker.
Oh, the Prismatic Bridge.
Prismatic Bridge. Sorry, apologies.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Wow. Speaking of a Seeker, my number 2, which was Aaron's number 4, is a Seeker, God of the Tree, which is one of the gods you can get with the World's Tree. These two link quite well, actually.
Yeah.
A Seeker has Vigilance. You can tap to add 1 mana of any colour. It's a 1/4, and it has other legendary creatures you control have Vigilance and can tap for mana. I don't think this is the reason that this made it so high on our list. I think the reason this made it so high on the list is the other side of the card. The other side of the card is the Prismatic Bridge. It's 1 of each colour of mana, and it's a legendary enchantment. It says, at the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards on the top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker card, and you put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
So yeah, we both put this on our list. I think mostly for the Prismatic Bridge side. Obviously, it has to go in 5 color decks, but I think this is probably the first time you can have essentially an enchantment in your not an enchantment creature, just an enchantment in the command zone. And I think you're probably going to play that side more often than the God side.
Yeah, I think when you haven't got the mana to cast this, you'll play the God because the God allows you to tap and your other creatures to tap for mana. And I think
as long as a legendary,
yeah, I think because you probably play it in if you play spell-based ramp.
Okay, yeah.
Like it cultivates and stuff like that. And then when you get this out, all the creatures in your deck will be stupidly bonkers. Carnage, Tyrant, or better. So this is the only mana dock you play. If you then manage to get another creature out, it hopefully will be legendary. So it will tap for mana if you need it to. You might need some way to kill a Seeker so that you can come back and play the Prismatic Bridge, actually, weirdly.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's got quite a lot of toughness.
And people might not kill it because then you've got access to the bridge.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, people in Commander will have answers to this, but the fact you can keep casting it from your command zone is pretty good.
Yeah, and I think just having a mana rock sometimes in your command zone is going to be important enough that you need to do it. I mean, it is double green, so that could be tricky in a 5 color deck to get it out turn 3 or something, but yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you probably play a lot of other legendary creatures with it just to...
I wonder if you play like Eldrazi. You could just play Eldrazi and try and hit your big Eldrazi off this. And because Eldrazi...
It puts them onto the battlefield, right, though? It doesn't cast them.
But putting Void Winner onto the battlefield is still pretty good.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And things like Gisela and Bruno as well, and
Yeah.
Just some weird legendary creatures. But if you're playing Eldrazi, you don't need the color restrictions to the cards in your deck. You can play like a more green-based deck, and then you can have your Chromatic Lanterns, and you can have your World's Trees, and you can have all your Signets and stuff, where you don't need the other colors of mana to cast them. And eventually, you'll have the mana for this. Even if you don't have it in your land base, you play another legendary creature.
Yeah.
And then it can tap for it. Yeah, I think this is a nice build around. And it's not a combo, so people might not try and deal with it because they have no idea what you're going to hit off this.
Yeah, I mean, you don't either as well, but I mean, you just build your deck so that all the cards you hit are good, right?
I suppose Sensei's Divining Top and Scroll Rack.
Yeah, maybe if you've got some way of manipulating the top of your library, for sure.
Scroll Rack's probably better because Sensei's Divining Top puts itself on top, and then you'll shuffle it away, so you only get to do it once, I guess.
I mean, just hitting a problematic creature every single turn, they will have to remove this.
Yeah. I think so. A 3 creature a turn, isn't it? And potentially, if the rest of your creatures in your deck are like 8 mana or better.
Exactly, yeah. Awesome card.
Pretty good. All right. Aaron's number 2 is my number 1. So we've timed this. That's why I went first, because of how often this works.
Yeah.
So Aaron's number 2 is my number 1. And it is Tergrid, God of Fright. It is 3 and 2 black for a 4/5 legendary creature god. It's got Menace, but importantly, it has whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that card from my graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It is a double-sided god. It has Tergrid's Lantern for 3 and a black that says target player loses 3 life unless you can tap it. Target player loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card, and you can pay 4 mana to untap it.
So this was your number 1 then?
It's my number 1, yeah.
Oh, right, okay. I didn't realise you were so excited about this card as I was. Yeah. I really want to build a mono black deck around this. This is so cool. Oh my god. So just like playing any discard deck that just makes all your opponents discard their hand, or I suppose it has to go in a mono black deck because you want to play this as your commander, I think. It is good in the 99, but I think you really want to build around that effect. So you just, and like with Waste Not as well, and just setting up all these things that you get so much bonuses for when your opponents start discarding cards. And then also you can build around the sacrifice theme as well. Oh, it's so good.
Torment of Hellfire.
Yeah, Torment of Hellfire just wins the game. Like, that's essentially what the other half of the card is, right? It's got like a Torment of Hellfire sort of effect.
It's a one-off thing, but you can repeat it if you've got enough mana. I think it's great. It's bonkers. The amount of discard and sacrifice in black is enough that you can play all the non-land cards in your deck can make them do one of those two things. And weirdly, even there's a land that makes some sacrifice now, because in Zendikar, one of the modal flip lands was a Thoughtseize, effectively a Thoughtseize, like a 4-mana Thoughtseize.
Okay, yeah. And
the other side was a land. So I'm like, well, you just play that as well. Why would you not? So you can effectively have your 60, 70 cards in your deck that aren't lands, 60 odd cards or whatever it is, can all have sacrifice or discard themes. Like all of them. Like you play Liliana's Triumph or whatever, each person sacrifices a creature or whatever, and you just get all those creatures.
Very few times in Commander as well that your opponents will not or be empty-handed, because this is Commander. You need to have lots of cards all the time. You don't want to be top decking.
Yeah.
So you're almost always going to hit something from this. And when you get like multiple discard or multiple sacrifice effects going on, this gets bonkers.
You get their lands. You get their Fabled Passage if they forget to crack them before you've played this. You get their Evolving Wilds.
Lands,
if they discard lands, you get them. If they discard creatures, you get them. If they discard mana rocks, you get them. If they discard any of that, if they sacrifice a land for any reason, you get it. It's just so good.
They go to hand size and they've drawn loads of cards in one turn, then they've got to go to hand size end of the turn. Anything they discard, this is permanent.
If you're playing this right, they're never going to get to hand size unless they draw 10 in a turn. I think you'll just be taxing their resources too much. They'll be sacrificing lands left, right, and centre. You can play Sinkhole. You can play. And a Sinkhole destroys, doesn't it? It doesn't sacrifice. But yeah, it's so good. My only downside to having the gods as your commander is you can't have both halves. These synergize so well together, and you can't have both halves.
Like if you can make it a mono black sort of go infinite mana, then that card's great. You just be like, right, okay, I've gone infinite with my mana. Now everyone just loses everything. Just has land.
Non-land permanent, they'll just have lands left, but then you'll have that whole hand will either be in the bin or on the battlefield under your control.
Yeah, so I think that'd be another cool way of building the deck, is making an infinite mana sort of deck, just because then your artifact can just win the game. Yeah,
I like it. I think it's just so good. So once you you might not even play this turn 5. You might wait till turn. You might just be attacking the hand a bit here and there, play Waste Not, whatever. Drawing some cards with August Bloodfast, or drawing some cards with Castle Lockthwain, or whatever Phyrexian Arena you've got. Maybe you do that a bit just so you've got a bit of a thing. And then on turn 7, you play this, and instantly you play Plague Bearer or whatever, and everyone attacks a creature, you get all those creatures. And then once you've got creatures yourself, you can play each player sacrifices a creature. You can then sacrifice the creatures you've previously won off them.
Yeah. I don't think we've had a commander either that is built around sacrifice and discard so heavily. This one, I think, is by far the heaviest one I think we've seen.
Not both. And maybe not either.
Like, Tiny Bones cared about discard, because it let you draw a card at end of turn.
But this is even better, isn't it? You get their cards.
Yeah. I mean, it dies to removal, but whatever.
So does everything.
Yeah, exactly.
But the rest of your deck will be taxing their resources.
Yeah.
You play Scroll Rack and 8 Rack and... Not Scroll. You play the Rack, don't you?
Yeah.
And you just be draining them for not having cards in the hand. And the reason they've not got cards in the hand is because you've got them on your battlefield.
It's really powerful.
Yeah. I think you said this was $10, didn't you, already?
Yeah, this is what I think the most expensive rare in the set.
Yeah. Probably for this reason. I think it's my favourite to build around. It's Aaron's second favourite to build around.
I think a lot of people are agreeing.
I think so. Right, and the final card is Aaron's number 1, which didn't make my list, actually. And that is Vorinclex. Monstrous Raider. It's 4 and 2 green. It's a 6/6 Phyrexian Praetor, a legendary creature. It's got trample and haste, and it has 2 bits to it. If you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, but twice that many of each of those kind of counters on that permanent player instead. And conversely, if an opponent would do that, instead they put half as many rounded down instead.
Do you know how many times I've played EDH, right? And you think to myself, you know what would be really good on my board right now? A double in season. Oh, wait, there's one in my command zone now. Yeah, so any +1/+1 counter deck, play this.
Yeah.
Any Super Friends deck, play it. Any Stacks deck, play it. Oh, it's gross. And so when I spoke about this card earlier in the standard video, and it does exactly the same thing. Like, so you just get counters on your deck, so it benefits your deck, and it just has so much incremental damage on your opponent's deck that any Planeswalkers, any Sagas, any sort of counters that they're putting on, it just halves it, rounded down as well. Yeah. So it hits so much and can benefit so many decks that it fits in. As a commander, yeah, you're limited to mono green. So, you know, you probably aren't going to play Stacks. You're probably not going to play Super Friends. So you probably build like some sort of +1/+1 counter or poison if there's enough green poison support.
Infect.
Yeah, Infect sort of
as well. Yeah.
It's a solid card. It's a very popular card. It's the first like card that has Phyrexian creature type on it.
Yeah.
And it's the Phyrexians again. Like, people have been waiting for this for years. These are the like OG bad guys. So yeah, I think old Magic players are excited for it. New Magic players. It has a nice nod actually to the old Vorinclex card in the way that I think the old one said all your lands basically tap for double, and then if your opponents tap their lands, they don't untap on the next upkeep for them. So it's got that sort of ability. Yeah, absolutely awesome card, this.
Doubling season is to the point of being broken. I think this, personally, I wouldn't want this as my commander, because I think if I built it as a commander and I built to play around this as a commander, I think if I wanted a +1/+1 counter commander, I'd want a cheaper one. I'd probably want Rishkar or something that's just a bit on the cheaper side, so you can get out earlier and start flooding the board. By the time you've got this out, a lot of your creatures might have already done their +1/+1ing sort of stuff. So I think if I was building this as a commander, it would be Infect, and people would hate me for it, or Poison, people hate me for it. So I think, in my opinion, this is probably, it's super powerful, don't get me wrong, and it stops incidentally so much of what your opponents are trying to do, and they don't realise it. They'll do something, not realising Vorinclex is stopping them doing it. So I think this actually goes better in the 99. This should go in my Hydra deck, because obviously Hydras get all these counters here, there, and everywhere. It goes in any deck where Doubling Season fits, and Doubling Season goes in a lot of decks. It'll go in any multicolored Super Friends deck. I actually think some of the green Planeswalkers have the weaker ultimates in terms of they don't just straight out win you the game. So I think if you're going to put this in a deck to benefit off the Planeswalkers, you need to have it in a deck with more than one colour. So like if you're in a Bant Planeswalker decks, then your Tameo, the Moon Sage, or the Tameo, the one that allowed you to cast things from your bin or something. It's bonkers. You just ultimately turn your player. So I think, my opinion, I would play this as a 99 because it's just such a good card in many 99s.
Yes,
over a commander. Don't get me wrong, it's powerful. It's not what I want to be doing with commander. I think. As a commander,
it doesn't seem like it's no fair way to play this card at all.
Not. When we were doing Commander Legends pre-releases, and I had a Chroma as my commander, never lived to attack. People saw I had it, kept
you are public enemy number one when this sort of card hits the battlefield.
I think in this, if someone's playing like a 2-mana kind of counter enabler, doesn't really do much by himself, Boros commander, whatever you're doing, people aren't going to hold up their removal to kill it. If someone's playing a commander that just taps for a bit of mana here and there. But when you've got this, people can see this is a bit like the Ur-Dragon, your Ur-Dragon deck. People know you're very close to casting the Ur-Dragon, so they're looking for answers for the time when it hits the battlefield, and they think, oh my God, I can't let that live for more than this much time. And I think as your commander, Vorinclex will see a similar fate.
I agree, yeah. It is a very powerful card, and it will get a lot of hate, basically.
Yeah.
You will... Yeah, you get paid. You become arch enemy at the table. But it's like the ultimate bad guy, right? One of the ultimate bad guys. So maybe that's why they printed it like that. I like it. Yeah,
I hope the other Phyrexian cards that come out they will be coming back, you see, won't they?
Oh, we're assuming so, yeah. I think over the next few years, I think this is going to be the start up to another big Magic story like World of Spark was. And it'll culminate in some sort of big battle against the Phyrexians, basically.
Yeah, we'll see. I haven't seen what the story's like for Kaldheim yet, but I imagine they'll mention Phyrexians at some point, saying, what the hell's this doing on our planet, kind of thing.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
All right, powerful card. Anyway, that's our top 10 EDH cards. It's very subjective. I had another 20-odd cards on my shortlist. I had, Doom Scars and Tybalt's Trickeries and all that other sort of stuff that's come out in the set that I just thought, you've got to kind of go with a line and pick it. So obviously, Aaron and I had completely different lists, pretty much. We had about 2 or 3 crossovers. Would you have any of the cards on your list as different cards as number ones? Tegrid and Vorinclex are our number ones. Would you pick different ones? What's your favourite card from the set? Would you have a completely different list? Feel free to post your lists in the comments below. If you want to subscribe, please do so to our YouTube channels and also our Twitch streams as well. Costs you nothing to follow us, helps us out, makes it worthwhile to do what we do. Those links will be in the description in the box down below.
So, yeah.
Other than that, we've been Steve and Aaron, and we will see you at some point when the next set's out, probably.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Peace.
Catch you later.